You work your ass off, don't you? So the real reason isn't that you're lazy, but that you're exhausted. And here's why. When you keep going, you don't allow yourself to rest, you're gonna burn out. I've been there. I know a lot of clients that have been there. But the second that you slow down and you allow yourself to take a freaking breath, you're not gonna feel as exhausted. You're gonna realize that you've been running on fumes, you've been running on E, so to speak. And that's why you haven't felt the inspiration, you haven't felt the drive that you once had. And if you give yourself that break, you're gonna get it back. It's just a matter of time. But if you go a consistent 6 months where you're grinding day in and day out, and you start to lose your creativity, what do you expect, right? If you keep going hard, if you keep going ham, that is bound to happen. You need to take a couple of days off. You need to take at least a week off or something, right? Just whatever feels right to you. But that story that you're lazy is validating something deeper. And it could be a form of self-sabotage. It could be a belief. I had a client go deep into this fear of procrastinating or believing that he's lazy. And what we discovered at the end of the session was that he was really afraid of failure. Because this way, if he didn't do the task that he gave himself that day, he wouldn't risk failing. Oftentimes, it's a protective mechanism. So if you can go deep into what it really is in that sense, you're gonna find something more there as well, right? Oftentimes you're either protecting yourself, right? And that's why you believe that you're lazy or you have these stories, or you're burning yourself out. And even with that burning yourself out, you're trying to validate something that's going on in the background that you're not even aware of, that you're unconscious of, right? There's moments where I would grind myself to the ground and with work and just keep trying to push and force. And I was trying to prove that I was enough. I was trying to show myself that I had it in me and I could do all these things. But it was a self-worth issue. And truth is, once I realized I had nothing to prove and I changed the intention, I started to slow down automatically. I really felt that there was no reason to work myself to death. But oftentimes a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt driving the work that you're doing, because you also need to prove that you're valuable. And that's what happens. But I guarantee you 99% of you watching this video right now are not lazy. Probably have an incredible work ethic and you bust your ass. But again, can you go into what's going on in the background? What's the deeper story that you're validating? I remember when I would go through these cycles, for me it would be almost like a victim mentality, because I would get myself so tired, and then I would say, well, I can't do anything, I'm tired. And it would be a valid excuse. But I would create that. You're always recreating a story one way or another about who you are or what you believe in. I was recreating this story or recreating like this victim story of I can't work on stuff because I'm tired. And I was recreating that every single day. And again, my client, he was afraid to fail, so he wouldn't even give himself a chance to slow down and get the rest that he needed so he could be 100% and actually show up how he wanted to show up. What's it for you, bro? What's underneath your exhaustion? What's underneath this belief that you're lazy? What are you afraid of? That's what it goes down to, right? Got my notes over here. You keep calling yourself lazy, but that's not what's really going on. Again, oftentimes you're emotionally exhausted. And no one taught you how to rest in a way that actually restores you. Oftentimes we think that we're resting, but we're staying busy, right? Now, I do believe in active rest. Don't get me wrong. When you go to walk in nature or on a trail, to the woods, like that, I count that as active rest. But if you're doing things, work that you don't consider work, but it's still work, bro, come on, you gotta give yourself like a real full day or even two of just doing nothing. And I get it, it's freaking hard sometimes, but and if it is hard sometimes, because I've been there, what are you running from? Why do you have to keep going and going and going? Right? Yeah, work can be an escape easily. So I needed to look at that. I needed to see what's really going on. What's underneath the belief of you thinking that you're lazy? Why you keep exhausting yourself? Right? Go deeper into that. Another thing, connect to the deeper root. Right? Leads right into this next one. When your nervous system is constantly in survival mode, even the smallest task feels overwhelming. It's not a lack of motivation, it's years of holding it all together alone. It's like you owing yourself debt. You keep maxing out the credit card day after day after day. What do you think is going to happen? Your energy has to be restored. I wish we were like a machine, but it's not how it works. So when you can practice more self-care activities, you're going to be able to restore your tank. But only you can give yourself permission. Yeah, you can keep burning yourself to the ground. You can keep working yourself to death. But you're just going to keep living in the cycle. And you're going to keep believing the same limiting beliefs that are causing this cycle. And you create these cycles of suffering. And it doesn't have to be like that. Can you acknowledge what's going on? Can you be aware of what's happening? I recently came across my own suffering loops, right? Where I would go into something, try to build it, and if it wouldn't have a financial outcome in, let's say, a couple weeks or whatever time frame I made up, then it was a failure. And I was a failure. And then I would stop. And then I would validate, of course, see? Of course it didn't work. Of course I couldn't make it happen. It was bullshit. What was really going on was a belief and a pattern that my parents passed down to me, that I was made to believe that if I do something and there's no financial gain, then it's not a success. And that came from my mom. Me and her having conversations where I would share something that I was passionate about, I was enjoying, I was loving doing it, but it took time to build. And every time she would ask me, how's that going? I'm like, well, I'm still working on it, Mom. And you can tell like by her response, like, oh, you haven't made any money from it? Oh, you haven't? And that was her way of measuring progress. And in a way, it is a way, and from one perspective, it is a way of measuring progress. But there's also all the wisdom, the experience, the knowledge that you get from trying to build something. That's invaluable, right? And for a long time, I thought I was a disappointment. I thought I was a failure because I didn't have the financial gains that my mom was expecting. So that was running in my background. And it was pulling me like a puppet on strings because I believe because it didn't blow up or get what I was reach the metrics that I was hoping for within X amount of time, that it was a failure and I was a failure. And it's just not true. Comment down below if you relate to that, bro. Like, I know we all of us have so many things that were passed down from our parents that aren't even ours, and we're claiming them. We're holding that shit so dearly, and it's BS. That's why you gotta walk your path, and you cannot let anyone else throw you off it. Can't let anybody else tell you what success is. If you put in time and work and energy towards a craft, towards a higher purpose, a business, and you've made the investments, you've done the coaching, you've gone through the mentorship, but you're not where you want to be yet, that doesn't mean it was a waste. You're growing, you're evolving, you're getting there. It takes time, all right? So the more oftentimes too, we think the more we do, the closer we'll get to where we want to be. And again, going back to the title of this video, you're going to get more exhausted. It's not always about doing more. If anything, it's about doing less, because then you can focus on other areas of your life too. Like, there's more to life than work. There's more to life than business. Excuse me. There's more to life than trying to prove that you're valuable. Right? There's friendships, there's connections, there's moments that you want to create with the people you love. That's important. I recently flew out to Chicago to spend some time with my family, some my friends, and I had a great time. And that was valuable. That was fun. That fucking mattered. And I could be working all day if I let myself to, but it doesn't matter as much as we put it in our minds that it does. All right? So just remember that, man. Like, don't let if you're at the point of exhaustion and burnout, don't let the continuation of this buildup happen of, again, just stacking all this debt day after day that you owe yourself, really, and all this energy that maybe you're drinking coffee, you're drinking all these stimulants just to keep going. Like, bro, it adds up, and it doesn't just go away the next day. Like, you're gonna feel it, and it's gonna catch up to you. So make self-care a priority. All right? Chill out. Chill out. Last thing, I want you to know you don't need to push yourself harder, right? Kind of touched on that a little bit. You don't need to push yourself harder. It's not about that. You need to slow down with compassion, reset your baseline, and stop making your worth depend on how productive you are. There's something called the Puritan work ethic. And when you buy into the Puritan work ethic, you believe that you are as valuable as the work that you do. So if you don't do any work, you don't hold any value. And that is a cycle that you do not want to be in, and you cannot get out of once you're in. You really believe that. So it ain't about going harder. And I was guilty of this. I thought, I just gotta go. If something's not working, I gotta go harder. I gotta go harder. It's not always the answer. You gotta slow down. If you're watching this, a part, and it relates, it's because there's a message in here for you. Are you gonna get the message? Right? If you keep going the way that you're going, something's gonna hit. It's gonna be. I remember one of my mentors told me, get ready. What did he say? Get ready for. All right, I can't remember, but he said pretty much get ready. Yeah, get ready for the bang. He said, get ready for the bang, meaning you're gonna keep going the same way. You're gonna keep doing the same shit, and you're gonna get to a point where life is gonna knock you on your ass, and you're gonna be forced to sit down. And that happened to me, bro. I burned out my adrenal glands and my central nervous system from working hard, taking stimulants, from drinking as well. This happened, was that 6 years ago? 6+ years ago that this happened. And I was working 15-hour days at that point too at my personal training studio. It's not a fun life. I don't brag about how many hours I work. I know right now, even like the hustle and grind culture, it's very common. Like, people are proud. I did a 24-hour day, right? Bro, I'm not impressed by that, because I know underneath that, you're trying to prove your worth, you're trying to prove your value, and you're trying to matter at the end of the day. And that's really underneath all those. Like, why do you have to matter so much? Right? Like, you're already important. You already hold value. Why do you have to do something to hold value? And I'm not saying to be lazy, because again, if you're watching this, you're probably not. You probably work your ass off. But when you're doing, the intention behind the work that you do is because you need to feel important. You got the wrong intention. You gotta find something more, right? And I get it, when you love something, you'll spend hours and you'll stay in it and do it, and that's fine too. But make sure you know why you're really doing it. Right? A lot of business owners, a lot of gifted entrepreneurs, coaches, like I can tell, they share like when they're. I recently saw like a little mini coaching session, and I was analyzing, and like the guy wasn't even listening. He wasn't even listening to what the client was really saying. He just wanted to talk and to share what he had to say. And that's what I mean. Like when you notice that pattern, it's just the person's trying to matter. And it's okay, you're early on. But that's why we got 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? Like, especially if you're a coach or a healer, like, bro, listen more than you speak. But yeah, guys, I really hope this helped. And if you're watching this, chill out, bro. Slow down. It's not about doing more. It's about doing less and working smarter. And hopefully this saves you some time, because you can keep going in your cycles. You can make a decision right now to do something different, to choose something different. But I can't decide for you. All right? So you're not lazy, you're emotionally exhausted, and you have to find out why you are creating that exhaustion. What's the belief underneath? All right? Once you figure that out, you can start being able to gain momentum to take those next steps and get out of your own way. If you want help with that, I have a free community that I just opened up called the Becoming Movement. I would love to have you in there. It's for gifted entrepreneurs, conscious coaches, visionaries, leaders, people that know they want more out of life. I would love to have you in there. Go ahead and view the description down below. Let's get some real progress. Let's get you to where you need to be. It's so much easier with guidance, bro. All right, I'll see you next time.